We have guest speaker today for the 186 careers in photography class. This is a good friend of mine and a member of my photography advisory board. This is Mike Naddeo. Mike's a local Flint photographer and has a studio in the downtown area of Flint, and all around good guy and excellent photographer. So Mike's going to give you a little bit of his background and his story. That's kind of the where we are in the lessons of this class, as I'm getting people to come in and kind of tell their story. I was last couple weeks ago, and then Kimberly was last week, and Mike's this week. And I got a couple other people lined up to come in and kind of tell their story. So with that, hi, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening? Like Bob said, my name is Mike Naddeo, and I'm a 2013 alum from Northern Michigan University, but I grew up here in Grand Blanc. I've lived in Flint most of my life. Skipped off to Detroit for a little bit and then up to Marquette. And a little bit of my history. I mean, I took a non-traditional path to college, as I know a lot of Mott participants do as well. Out of high school, I went to U of M Flint for a little bit and studied photography there with Daryl Baird. And but I felt my social life was a little more important than my student life at that point, and I didn't succeed. We'll say that. From there, I went on to selling cars for a little bit. Just a horrible occupation.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I spent about 4 years selling cars. Superior, Pontiac, Cadillac, and Zott Ford and Holly, Lasco Ford for a little bit. Not what I wanted to do with my life. But during that time, I was running snowboard events and doing stuff like that, both around the Midwest and then some national events, and wound up connecting with Red Bull. And I went to work for Red Bull for 7 years. That was an amazing experience. We got to do a lot of really cool things, and
you got to go to some great places too.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great when work takes you to really cool places. But in 2009, they did a major corporate restructure. We all had to re-interview for our jobs, and the writing was kind of on the wall at that point. I decided not to re-interview, and I decided to go back and finish my degree. It was something that had always been kind of hanging over my head, and I decided to do it. So I went to Oakland Community College. I was living in Holly with my dad at the time, and took some more photography classes there, but I was intent on studying all the hard sciences, and I was really into physics and that sort of thing.
And you liked math quite a bit, as I recall, too, didn't you?
Yeah, I like math. I like that kind of problem solving, that sort of thing. So I did a couple of years at OCC to get those prereqs out of the way cheap, and then transferred up to Northern, and because basically it was the farthest I could get away and still pay my in-state tuition, but just an absolutely beautiful campus, beautiful community. Is. Yeah, everything in Marquette is fantastic. If you don't mind a couple extra months of winter.
Right.
But so I stayed up there for a while and was doing the physics thing, and got to the point where I got kind of burnt out on the math, and I felt like there was no end in sight, and I was going to be in school forever, basically. And so I decided, I had always been, real into photography, and it was something that I enjoyed as a hobby, but I'd never really thought about it as a profession. But people, even before I graduated, people were contacting me saying, hey, can you do photos, and we'll pay you. And it seemed like more of something I wanted to do, I guess. So more and more. And so I transferred to the art department, and that gave me an actual plan and a hard graduation date. And so I did it. I finished my degree there, and it was a great experience. All of my instructors were fantastic. And and
you actually had I visited the photography lab and stuff down there when my daughter was going to Northern. I stuck my head in and say, hey, I'm a photography professor, can I get a nickel tour? And one of your professors gave me, the lady, I can't remember her name.
Christine Flavin, probably.
Yeah. Christine gave me a tour, and we chatted for quite a while. And you have pretty decent program and pretty nice facilities there too, really.
Yeah,
So,
very nice facilities.
really nice facilities.
Yeah, Northern is one of the only, one of three, I believe, dedicated colleges of art and design in the state. You've got Kendall and CCS are the other two.
Right.
So yeah, we actually had a dedicated school of art and design, which was great. The facilities were fantastic, top notch. It's as you get to be a second semester senior, you panic like, oh my God, I'm not going to have this anymore. You're like, oh, I got to go buy all this stuff on my own.
Yeah, the camera, the big studio was really nice.
Yeah. All the pro photo stuff was
it's really nice stuff.
Yeah. So, like I said, I graduated and came down and didn't really know what to do. So I went to go work for Terry out at Billmeyer for a little bit. We were going to try and start up his studio that was in the upstairs of the camera shop. And we really quickly learned that, you're not just going to be a photographer. It takes a lot of work, a lot of networking, a lot of, it's as much shaking hands as it is taking pictures.
Yeah.
So we kind of learned that the hard way. We thought we were just going to come over and take over Fenton and it didn't really work out that way. I wound up working down in the camera shop more than I did doing anything else. And it was great. It was a good experience learning kind of the retail side of business, which is super important, much more important than most artists think it is. And so I did that for about a year, and then the position opened up at My City Magazine. And so I kind of jumped on that. Being a staff photographer for a magazine was great, glossy photos and print and everything that a photographer wants to see. And it was okay.
Because you pretty much have to do everything at My City, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was the photographic art department, and I was the only photographer for the most part. I got, budgets were so tight that you got to the point where you didn't even ask to send anybody else if you wanted to go. If you weren't available, you just made it happen.
Right.
So it was, it was a tough thing. The money was terrible. The management wasn't great, and it was, but it was an experience that I think a lot of people should have, just so you can know how bad it can be, I guess. When you're basically left to your own devices, given no support, and you've got to use your own equipment, and they pay you peanuts, and God forbid if something breaks, you can't afford to fix it. And then, and
the only direction you get is go.
Right.
Go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that.
Yeah.
Oh, by 4 o'clock today, please. Yeah.
And I get a lot of no. You can't, it's going to cost $20. No. So it, like I said, it was a good experience in that, I learned how bad things can be and helped to, I did have pretty much creative control, which was good. So I could make my own decisions, and so long as I presented a good product, they were usually pretty happy with it. So, after a couple of years of that, things kind of came to a head, and it was time to move on. And
the key element there was you got to shake a lot of hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the key element. That was a chance for me to get into the community, meet everybody, because I was always sent to these fancy events, and
you met everybody within about a 50-mile radius or 40-mile radius around here.
Absolutely. All the business owners, all the foundation people, and who a lot of those people are still great friends now, and clients. Right. So after a couple of years of that, like I said, it came to a head, and it was time to move on. And it didn't have a lot of plan, and I didn't have a lot of savings, and it was kind of an interesting couple of months when I think it was February, which is always the slowest time of the year.
Yeah.
And we had a baby on the way, and it was a couple months of panic, and how are we going to do this? And I just got on the phone and I started making calls, and I said, hey, I'm not with the magazine anymore. I'm on my own, and I'm trying to make ends meet here. You got any work? And we made it through. And, you know, I was kind of set up a studio in my house for a little bit, and, but with the new baby coming, that wasn't really working. And, well, I guess Elliot was already here at that point. So I teamed up with a couple, with one other Mott grad, Eric Dutro, and then a U of M grad, Dana Williams. And we decided we were going to go together and find a studio space. And we had one place in mind, and then as we were about ready to sign that lease, when this space became available, right here downtown and right above Cafe Rama. And so we jumped on it, and here I am. It's been 4 years now, a little over 4 years.
I was gonna say it's been about 5.
Yeah. Since I've been in this space, I just re-signed my lease, so it's been 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's worked out pretty well. The space doesn't pay for itself by any means, but it's great advertising. I've got my logo on the window, and I'm right downtown. And especially over the last year, it's been a money pit, but it's okay. We kept us here, and it gives me a space to work out of. And that's because I'm primarily not a studio photographer. I'm primarily working out in the field
On location,
on location, environmental portraits and stuff like that. But yeah, it's been interesting over the last year. We had a coffee roaster. I subbed the conference room to them. They were making coffee in here. They've recently just moved out because they need a little more space.
Oh, you didn't tell me? I would have come up.
Right. Yeah, Rootless Coffee was founded in my conference room here. I'm waiting for them.
Just for the smells, I would have come up, you know.
Oh, roasting coffee isn't the best smell.
Oh, isn't it? Okay.
No, and it sticks to you. Yeah, it's like burnt coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, they've been gone for a few weeks now, and it still smells like roasted coffee in here. It's not great. Yeah. But that's been good. You know, it kept the space alive. There were people in here moving around, and it felt good. So now I'm trying to decide what to do with that conference room next, and I'm kind of doing a rebranding of the space because, long story short, my 2 partners bailed out before the end of the first year. Eric, good for him. He got a great job at General Motors, photographing their parts catalog, and it's a long-term contract, and he's doing great.
Yeah, he's going to be he's going to be. I'm going to be interviewing him in a couple of weeks as well for this episode.
Great.
Yeah, he did a really nice talk a couple of years ago on going from a student to a pro. That got really good reviews. So I'm going to ask him to kind of repeat that for me as well. So that's coming.
Right.
Stay tuned.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I had Dana, and he had some personal issues and couldn't continue. So I've been here by myself for about 3 years, and, you know, we make ends meet. The bills get paid every month, and it works. So I think in moving forward, I'm kind of going through a rebrand. We were called Mainsail Collective. But being that I haven't been a collective in 3 years, it's time for a refresh of our brand. I think we're gonna rebrand as Studio Flint, and then because I would ideally like to rent the space, and I have been doing that for quite a while.
It's a great space. I can see you renting the space out to other photographers or videographers or you know, somebody working on a documentary that wants to do interviews or something like that. It's really a great location, and you've got not only do you have a good space, but you have great window light coming in too.
Yes,
you can use.
Yeah, you can see it behind me there.
Yeah,
pouring in.
Yeah.
It's good enough. It's easy to overpower with strobes, but for video, it gives you this really nice edge light. Look at that.
I know. You got a reflector on or something? You're like. I
got a light on me.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I just use window light.
I see that because it's changing all the time. There it goes.
It's my it's the camera. Can't.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the camera.
Yeah.
It changes exposure here depending on what it sees. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're in the process of kind of reorganizing.
Yeah. So we're gonna like I said, we're gonna rebrand as Studio Flint. And then I'm not going to change the model much. It's just, you know, anybody can reach out to me. We'll chat and you can rent the space as you know, whenever you want. The best thing I bought was a Wi-Fi lock. So now I don't even have to come down here to let you in. I can just,
oh, really?
From my phone anywhere. Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've had a couple of portfolio parties there, which have gone over really well. We've had very good attendance at them. People like coming up to your space, and
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of tough to do it this year, but I think we'll be able to do it next year. So
Great. Yeah, it's a good spot. It's a hidden little gem. You can't get in here unless you know how to get here,
right.
and I kind of like it that way. So yeah.
And the people downstairs have been great as far as my interaction with them and with you, and coming to the space and having parties there and things of that nature. We've had I think three. I think I've done 3 portfolio parties there, and we've always had a really good time and had very good attendance. So it's
everybody likes to come downtown. It's a nice place.
Oh
to be
yeah. Yeah, especially during Art Walk and in that, it's a lot of fun. People really enjoy that. So
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's great. If you could shoot me a text or an email, and I'll post it as to you know, what kind of you're thinking your rates are going to be for the studio space, or if you're going to have a minimum, half-hour minimum or an hour minimum or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, let me know, and I can publicize that a little bit.
Sure.
That would be
great.
cool.
Okay.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. So I guess we, you know, as far as the story goes, we could back up a little bit too and talk a little bit about what I do photographically. Rather, I mean, I do a lot more than just run a studio rental space.
Sure.
And I, you know, one of my niches, I guess, I found here in Flint is I work a lot with the nonprofit and foundation community that we have here. We have a lot, and we have a couple of very big ones that we're very, very lucky to have. You know, mainly the CSMOP Foundation. They do work around the world. They have offices in New York, London, South Africa, and they're headquartered here. And we are incredibly lucky to have that because, you know, I can't tell you how many times they've bailed this community out of problems that have arisen, and they're always on the front line, and it's great that we're right under their nose, and they know, you know, they know the problems that we have. So
right.
So they've been a fantastic client of mine. Over the last couple of years, I've really built a good relationship with their comms department, and you know, just as soon as we're done here, I've got to run over the other side of town and take some photos of an old building that's getting torn down. And they want to document it before that happens. So, but I do all kinds of stuff for them. They send me all over the place. You know, they're involved in a lot of like environmental and conservation causes. So, in the fall, I spent a couple days up at Arcadia Dunes.
Isn't that a great place?
Oh, amazing.
And it's spectacular. It's probably one of my favorite hikes I've ever been on in my life.
Right.
And the views up there are stunning.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. And they had you know, they had the land steward, you know, giving me kind of the behind the scenes tour the whole time. So we got into some pretty spectacular places, and we were doing a lot of drone photography. So I had that out, and almost lost it. That was a good story. I got it out over the lake, and the winds were too high. I couldn't get it back.
Okay, we're recording again.
Okay. All right.
So you were at Arcadia Dunes.
Yeah. And I think that trip we did Arcadia Dunes. We did. They needed some photos of a freighter going under the Mackinac Bridge, so we had to watch the freighter schedule and be there at the right time to get those photos. We went up to the Sioux Locks. They needed some photos. There's something about shipping on the Great Lakes they're working on, so they needed that content. Yeah, so we, you know, that was a good 4-day trip, I think, and you know, billing on a day rate with mileage. That was a pretty good
paycheck. Yeah. So have you gotten you've gotten your drone pilot's license by now, or?
Oh yeah. I've had
okay.
it for a couple of years. I think I'm pretty much due to renew it at this point. So.
Okay.
And that's paid for itself several times over.
Oh sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've ordered a bunch of drones. Maybe you can be my drone instructor.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't have to do it. You could do
it. Hey, they fly themselves, you know. It's just it's getting that test. That test was tough. The test is tough. But I passed it on the first go. You just got to study. So.
Yeah. I'm going to do it this summer, I think. So
yeah.
just so I have it. And I
Right.
flew for 25 years, so I should know most of the stuff. So
Just airspace. It has
Yeah.
nothing, then there's nothing really on the test about actually flying a drone. It's all about
Right.
airspace and weather.
it's all
and everything
about
else.
the
So,
restrictions and
yeah, it's
permission.
basically like ground school light. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. So
Yeah.
I've got a student that flies the power lines for Pacific Power and Gas, or Pacific Gas and Electric out in California,
Yeah.
making a bunch of money,
Mhm.
making really good money. Pretty much flies every day, and they pay him a large amount. He's doing great. So
Right.
so there's some interesting usage that didn't exist before.
Yep, absolutely.
It's
It's
really
opening
cool.
up, yeah, a lot of other stuff. I think it's great. It's good
Yeah.
technology. So, yeah.
So where are you now with editorial, or what kind of subject matter are you shooting? What's really going on in your sphere of creativity here?
Not doing a lot of editorial work right now. Sadly, I was with Flint side for a couple of years. They had a lot of management changes, and I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of left, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
I wasn't like an employee. I was a contractor, and I don't know, kind of outgrew it, I guess. And yeah, there's not a lot of editorial work going on, especially with the pandemic. It's been that's been a little crazy. Lately, it's been, Mott Foundation keeps me busy. Been doing a lot of video work with a bunch of projects for United Way earlier in I guess late winter. And yeah, McLaren and Hurley, they always keep me busy with other, kinds of stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah, when I did my my little lectures, What About Bob? And I did that a couple weeks ago. I put that in there, that I worked at Henry Ford Hospital for 5 years, and people are like, "You photography degree at a hospital?" I go, "Yeah, I did a lot of photo and video and other kinds of a work like that." And so, people didn't think that there's work available in the medical community for photo and video people, but there's quite a lot of work available in that.
Yeah, both Hurley and Genesis have full-time photo video guys. Yeah. And like Doug over at Hurley, he's been there for years, and he does pretty well. He's man, that's just the nicest person you'll ever meet too.
That's cool. Yeah, there were 3 of us at Henry Ford Hospital.
Yeah. Because there's always stuff that needs to get done. There's always headshots that need to be taken. There's always quick little videos that need to be done. And thankfully, McLaren doesn't see the value in hiring somebody full time, and I'm okay with that because I get to do a lot of that work. So,
well, that's did you ever meet Nick Basia, or one of our adjunct instructors? He was full time over there for 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And they let him go, towards the end of his career. But
yeah, I know Nick. He's a good guy. And I do a lot of it at Lapeer. They've got another guy here in Flint. It's a political thing, but I do a lot out at Lapeer. That's
yeah,
cool.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of work out there, but you got to go find it.
Yes, absolutely. And you gotta, the commercial world, it's all about shaking hands and who you know. Because really, well, we're all the best photographers in the world in our own minds. There's a lot more to it than actually snapping pictures.
Yeah, but you still have to do a good job. So
yeah.
And you still have to know your stuff. So it takes
absolutely,
a while.
100%.
How much have you grown in the last 7 or 8 years?
Since I've been on my own, you get to the point where you don't even think about what you have to do to take a picture anymore. It's just, I did a headshot this morning over at Flint Institute of Music, and the guy, he was a flautist, and they needed a shot for their program or whatever. And he was very apprehensive about having to take his mask off in the building and stuff. And I said, "Look, man, we're going to be in and out of here in 2 minutes. Set your watch." And I set everything up. I said, "Take the mask off." And I took one test shot, realized I was overexposed, knew exactly how much just by looking at it. and dial my lights back just a tad, and snapped a couple more photos, put his mask back on, he was out the door. Like I said, 2 minutes. I was in and out of the building in less than 15 with my setup and teardown.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that battery operated stuff you have now is really slick.
Oh yeah. The Pro Photo B10s are killer.
Yeah. It was a boatload of money, but it certainly makes life easy.
Absolutely. And I had been waiting for years for Pro Photo or somebody else to make a battery powered light that I could use that had a good enough color temperature that I could use it for video, as well as stills. So it's both a strobe and an LED, and I love them.
Yeah, they're really nice. Yeah. And you've got some light modifiers, and it all fits in one little nice kit, and away you go.
Yeah, all in the backpack.
Yeah, shoulder bag with a couple of cameras, or a camera and a couple lenses and some memory cards and maybe your laptop and that bag, and you're ready to go.
Yep.
So you're very mobile, which is really cool.
Yeah. And over the last year, I've switched. Actually, I'm talking to you on it right now. The iPad Pro has been pretty good. I'm not 100% in love with it, but I paid about as much as you would for a MacBook. But I love the touchscreen, and some of the things I can do with it as far as editing are just fantastic. And being able to, it's nice and light, it's nice and small. And yeah, I've been pretty happy with it.
Yeah. Now, what I used to carry around,
right,
compared to what you can today, is just, and it's better quality.
Oh yeah.
I shot a giant Pentax 6.7, and geez, and all the power packs and strobes and the extension cords and everything I had to carry with me all the time. And
oh yeah, you'd have to have a team of assistants just to come in, and then you got an hour, 2 hours of setup. Like I said, what you could do in 2 hours, I can do in 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And I had to clean everything, because I didn't know if I was going to be in an office building one day and then in a factory the next day. So I had to clean everything all the time, and, oil and grease and dirt on everything. So I had to wipe everything down just about daily, it seemed like. So that was a lot of time once I got back home. I wasn't far from done at that point,
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays it's the portability of equipment is just is wonderful. What you can
do. It is.
Yeah. So how are things going to date right now? What's you're still relatively busy, it sounds like.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like spring break, the phone always dies. And so I'm kind of in that, and part of the freelancer world is you live somewhere between comfortable and panic all the time. So right now I'm in panic mode. Next week I'll be in like, oh my God, what am I going to do with how am I going to get all this done?
Yeah, how am I going to get all this done? I got 4 jobs to shoot this week, and
right. But right now I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh geez, how am I going to pay my bills next month? But the phone always rings right when you need it to, it's just one of those weird things about the business. So
yeah. And it was like that. It was like that for me too. It was always, but I always, as I told my students, I always had a bit of a side hustle going at the same time. So I had a little bit of regular money coming in.
Right.
And I was fortunate that, I was able to do that. And the people that I worked with were flexible with that allowed me to do some things like that. And that's what eventually led me to teaching. But so, it's a great story in the long run, but it was a little sketchy at times.
Right. Yeah. You've always, along with being an artist, you have to be an entrepreneur too. I'm always scheming something. We've got, I'm the chair of the Friends of the Alley. We do Alley Fest and other beautification projects downtown. So we won't be able to do Alley Fest again this year, obviously. So we're going to kind of adopt a space right here downtown and turn it into a park, so that we can do small like concerts outdoors throughout the summer.
Cool.
50 people-ish, so that we can give the Alley Fest in small doses rather than
that sounds great.
Yeah. So
you got to be involved. Busy. People have to know you're around.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to.
As
have
I
your
always
face
say,
in
you
the
have to put your face in front of theirs.
Yeah. Right. So we're looking at different ways to do that in a global pandemic. So
A lot of ways to do that still.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool. Hey, while I got you on the line, I do need to have an advisory committee meeting, so I'll get in touch with you soon.
Okay.
Get that going. So.
All right. Well, we'll all sit at our own tables and crack beers, I guess.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Anyway, appreciate it very much. Really nice to see you. It's been way too long.
Yeah, you too.
And glad you're doing well. And I haven't seen any I forget your child's name now.
Elliot.
Elliot. Yeah, I haven't seen any pictures of Elliot. So.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to change that. It's today is April 1st. He's still wearing his Santa hat everywhere he goes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know. Kids are kids, I guess.
That's wonderful. That's so much fun. Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing a couple pictures, and
Cool.
just MikeNaddeo.com for your website. I'll put that in the description so students can go there and check out some of your work and
Cool.
And get an idea of what you've done in the past and what you're doing. You got any videos up on your website now too, or not?
No, that's one of my things I need to sit down and do is update that. Most of my video stuff I just send straight to the clients. I need to put together a new reel. It's been a really long time.
I need to put together like a 3-minute reel or something like that. That'd be good to have.
Yeah.
So.
Most of what I do is pretty boring though. It's talking heads and interview stuff. But
I know.
Let's see, in the late fall, we did a really cool piece for Anecdotes Studio in SBEV. I think you can probably find that on the Mott Foundation page. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks very much, man. Good to see you.
Hey, yeah, you too.
It's been way too long. I always enjoy chatting with you. So
you too.
Let's try to do that a little bit more often. And once this semester's over, I'll be a little bit more available, shall we say. So.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike, very much, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. No problem.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
See ya.
Bye.
Cool.